have continuity or association plan for your business?
Has anyone shared the concept of sustainability with you?
What about the need to protect the rights of minority shareholders?
What are those ingredients germane to having effective meetings?
For these and many more, tune into Corporate Governance Platform every Thursday on MITV, your darling station, on DSTV 255 and UHF 43 at 4:30 p.m.
Corporate Governance Platform is your best medium for informative and educative strategies for the practice of the corporate governance profession.
Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals.
Thanks for joining us on Corporate Governance Platform, proudly brought to you by ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals. I am Tunde Odeyemi, and in today's episode, we want to look at the relevance of IT governance in the context of corporate governance. And to lead in the conversation is a distinguished fellow of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, Salio Okafor. Salio Okafor is a Chartered Secretary and a governance specialist. He is currently the chairman of the Publication Committee of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN. Sir Okafor, you are welcome to Corporate Governance Platform.
Thank you very much.
And we are so much delighted to have you on this program today.
My pleasure.
Okay. We want to discuss the relevance of IT governance in the context of corporate governance. And I also want to use this opportunity to invite our viewers to be part of this program by sending text to 080-2323-1287. I take that number for the last time. Send text for comments or question to 080-2323-1287. Now, Sir Okafor, like I said, we are discussing IT governance in the context of corporate governance. And I'd like to kickstart this conversation by asking, now, what is IT governance and how is it related to corporate governance?
Thank you very much for that question. IT governance is an aspect of corporate governance that focuses on information technology, risk management, and its performance, among other things. In other words, you can describe it as those structures that organizations put in place in order to protect or sustain its IT infrastructures in order to ensure that they remain in business. And not just remain in business, but also to ensure profitability.
You have mentioned a little bit of some of the things that we could get from IT governance, but I want you to mention some specific benefits that an organization can derive from IT governance.
Okay. For organizations that have invested substantially or significantly in IT governance or infrastructures, there are several benefits they can get from that. I will just mention a few. First of all, it improves cost savings.
Okay.
Secondly, it aids compliance. Thirdly, it helps in performance measurement. Again, it also helps in strategic planning. And very importantly, it also reduces IT risks. So these and many other benefits accrue to companies, organizations that invest in IT infrastructure.
Wonderful, wonderful. Then who is best suited in an organization to drive IT governance?
Well, generally, like they always say, the board sets the tone in everything, and that also includes IT governance. So the board sets the tone and management drives it. So it's a 50-50 arrangement. Board setting the tone and management driving it. And then the board will also assess the level of compliance or performance by management to ensure that this governance structure is not only maintained and sustained, but also that it yields the desired revenue or profitability. Remember, I talked earlier about profitability. That is why institutions are in business.
Okay, in this program we are discussing corporate governance. and you know that the custodian of corporate governance and organization is the company secretary. Now, does the company secretary have any role in an ICT-driven economy?
Yes, they have several roles, a lot, and they keep evolving every day. First of all, I will need to state clearly that a company secretary must be technologically savvy. We use the word tech savvy. In other words, they need to understand and know the various technological trends that affect their business or the industry within which they operate. With that in mind, it will give them the opportunity to know, identify, and even advise with respect to risk elements that can affect their businesses. So, company secretaries must be tech savvy. They don't have to be technology aspects or IT aspects, but there are basic things they need to know. This is an evolving generation and time, and they cannot afford to be left out.
Okay, you said company secretary needs to be tech savvy. Taking on technology now, in what ways can technology be employed to ease the work of a company secretary?
Yes, in several ways. I will first of all start with board portals.
Okay.
Board portals are software applications that help companies, company secretaries in particular, and the board in general, to plan and organize their meetings. Here, board materials are uploaded on the portal. All directors have access to these materials. So it's not a question of calling the company secretary, I've not seen this paper, I've not seen that paper. It's right there on the portal. So every director has the username and the password, and the company secretary is the admin. So every document he needs to put in for purposes of board meetings is placed right there on the portal and accessed by all directors. Their comments are all made right there as well, and the secretary alone accesses those comments and have, at the end of the day, a complete set of documents for the purpose of discussion at meetings. Secondly, technology also helps in how meetings are planned, or meetings are also, or minutes taken. There are different softwares that help for those who struggle to write minutes. Writing of minutes, I must also mention, is an art that you learn over time. So at the early stage, a lot struggle with it. So there are softwares that can purchase, help them to write good minutes, and over time improve on it, and then may not have need or recourse to reverting to these softwares for guidance and help. So technology has come in recent times to help company secretaries and boards in how they organize their meetings and how convenient it is for directors without having to call anyone. They access all this information, revert, and the meeting moves on seamlessly.
I like this idea of a board portal. It gives opportunity to run board affairs 24/7.
Correct.
Okay. The question I want to ask now is that what additional use of IT has been put to use during this new normal dispensation?
Yes, first of all, although it wasn't anticipated, but those things that's brought up now include one, virtual meetings. Meetings are held irrespective virtually. So you don't have the need or insistence to have physical meetings, and also help to respect the COVID protocols. So wherever you are, you can attend those meetings, make your comments. The only downside of virtual meetings, apart from teleconferencing, is you can't assess the level of attention of participants on the other side, particularly where such microphones are muted, cameras are not on. So you don't know what they're doing behind, and also what contribution they can make. So sometimes it reduces the level of participation or contribution that the participants can make to a meeting. That notwithstanding, that's just a downside that is small compared to the numerous benefits that virtual meetings have also introduced by virtue of this new normal. Well, it's just a phrase, but to some people, there's nothing has changed. Life is still goes on. So new normal is maybe
the normal is still normal.
It's still normal.
Okay, we're still talking about technology.
Yes.
What is disaster recovery plan, and what is its relevance in the IT governance context?
Yes, disaster recovery plan. It's a document prepared by companies in which lists step by step of how companies must respond to certain events that were never planned or anticipated, so that data or things are not lost. For example, no one anticipated that COVID pandemic could lead to a situation where businesses could be disrupted, activities could be disrupted.
Yeah.
So these are things that documents that organizations prepare, that in the event that such things happen, this is how we respond, this is how we ensure that business continues, and that data are not lost. So that's disaster recovery, and also helps to ensure business continuity plan. Some regulators at the prime of, I'd say, the heat of the pandemic last year, did write to their various operators and asked them to submit business continuity plans to ensure that they will not only remain in business, they also remain profitable. So business continuity plans and data disaster recovery plans are documents or things that help organizations plan in the event, like they always say, unintended do happen, so that they are proactive, ahead of time, and not reactive.
Okay, I would like to also use this opportunity to tell our viewers that they can be part of this program by sending a text message to either ask a question or make comments on the program. The number to send the text message to is on the screen of your television set, 08023231287. Okay, Sir Okafor, what will you describe as the challenges to ICT deployment in an organization?
Sound as the benefits are, there are challenges. First of all, what I call computer illiteracy, if I could use that word. Pardon me for the use of such word, if it's offensive anyway. But not all organizations are that computer literate. Computer literacy is not just logging into a system, knowing how to send mails. It involves much more.
Okay.
For ICT in this case, it requires organizations to really understand and train not only their board and management on the use and basic skills as well, and also the risks that are inherent. You have heard about organizations' documents being quote-unquote kidnapped and a ransom demanded before they're released. These are things that if organizations, forward-looking organizations, have this training and softwares or other things in place to prevent this, then it helps a lot. So there is little or not much knowledge on the part of some board members. There are some who, they are used to the old way. They are old normal, if I could use that word, and they are comfortable in that zone. So that also affects the level of growth in such organizations. Secondly, the cost of deploying this IT governance or infrastructure. Not every organization is buoyant to meet this, and it's not only enough to have that in place, you also need to sustain it. So it's also expensive. So small organizations need to budget for this annually to ensure that their business remains not only sustainable and profitable, but also contributing to the economy in general. So fine as the concept is, it has its challenges, and we believe in course of time, we'll get over all these challenges and become better corporate organizations and institutions. Okay, someone sent a text message, and the question here is ICT and corporate governance. Are they conflict or complement in nature? ICT and corporate governance. Are they conflict or complement in nature? First of all, they are not conflicting.
Okay.
One is an aspect of the other. Corporate governance is the umbrella that has different branches. IT governance is one aspect of that. Okay. So in effect, it complements it.
It complements each other.
Yes.
Okay. No, this ICT governance complements corporate governance. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it complements it.
Okay.
While corporate governance strengthens that ICT aspect.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Board packs and electronic papers are some of the tools in holding meetings. Now, what are the tools specifically designed to achieve?
First of all, board packs are what would they call it? Traditionally, they are physical documents put together in folders, and they refer to documents or items to be considered at meetings. So it's part of documents you prepare for meetings.
Okay.
But that's traditional board packs. Okay. In the age of technology, board packs, physical board packs are now becoming extinct. Now we have electronic board packs. And these are things that you find uploaded ahead of time on the board portal so that directors can access it, make their comments. This helps to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of meetings, reduces the time spent at meetings so that comments ordinarily that are waited for such meetings can be taken up and addressed on the portal between the directors and the company secretary. So it reduces the time spent at meetings, which traditionally everyone is carrying a pack. And sometimes looks funny now. You can imagine companies that have a minimum of 4 board meetings, for example, in a year, excluding committee meetings. Now each one carrying its own pack. Sometimes board packs run into over 200 pages. So you can imagine the folder containing these papers and materials. At the end of the day, in a year you have like at least 5 or 6 of those folders. In a year, you cannot, in 10 years, you'll now be looking for extra rooms to build a library for board packs. Environmentally, this is not friendly. So we need to look at go paperless environment now. So all these things are what you see now in electronically. They upload electronically, you go there and access those ones, make the comments you have, read up ahead of meetings. But to make these things effective, you need to have, each board needs to have at least a laptop or an iPad to access these materials. It makes life easy.
Easy. So instead of having the pack, you have it electronically.
Exactly.
Okay. The new Companies and Allied Matters Act, the CAMA Act of 2020, recognizes the holding of meetings electronically by private companies. The question now is, don't you think it would be better if this privilege is extended to public companies?
I agree with you. Not just I think, I believe that it should be extended to public companies. In my opinion, I believe it was an omission, an inadvertent omission, because the pandemic has revealed the need for such things. Okay. So I believe the time the CAMA 2020 was being finalized, it was too late to go back to address this. So I believe it's work in progress for a future amendment, because what is good for private companies, with the pandemic now, it has made it much more important that public companies do that. And that's why I believe, personally, in my opinion, that the CAC understood this in coming up with that guidelines last year for holding of meetings by public companies by proxies, and also giving exemptions for public companies to hold these meetings virtually. So if you notice, so many public companies at the heat of that pandemic last year held their annual general meetings electronically, with the approval of the companies and the Corporate Affairs Commission. Every forward-looking organization or regulator understands this, and I'm quite sure that's why CAC allows such things to persist.
Okay, I have another question here. The question says, I will appreciate the views of the guests on the role of practitioners in propagating the tenets of corporate governance. We want to know your views on the role of the practitioners in propagating the tenets of corporate governance.
Personally, I don't speak for the Institute, or for any corporate organization, but in my personal view, I have no issue with that. The end result is to ensure proper governance for all organizations, and not just organizations and institutions, but individuals too. So the more the merrier, provided that the right governance structures or right governance preaching is being exhibited by those private practitioners.
Okay, there is yet another question here. Please, how can an organization have access to their previous electronic board materials after changing the initial service provider? Did you get that question? Let me take it again. How can an organization have access to their previous electronic board materials after changing the initial service provider?
Okay, I will assume before this now that they had a previous service provider.
Yes.
Such provider is assumed has its own records.
Okay.
And depending on agreement entered into with that service provider, it means that information provided by that is the property of that organization. Once signed off in that agreement, then they should make that available. There must be a storage where it can always be accessed. This is a software thing, so that software must take care of the previous records of the organization in the custody of that former service provider.
Okay, there's yet another, this one is thanking you. Say thank you to the guest that you are really doing justice to the topic and the discussion is enlightening. It's from a viewer. Let me also take that to appreciate you. Now, let me ask you this question. On the role of company secretaries, the role of company secretaries is changing in this modern and dynamic world. Now, what do you think will be the prospect of company secretary who is stuck in the traditional ways of doing things?
Well, in modern times, corporate organizations, they say, innovate or die.
Okay.
But with respect to company secretaries, you either shape up or be left abandoned by the trend of development. In other words, the boss will soon leave. That is why it's not left already. So it needs to catch up. We cannot afford to continue to live in the old way, how things are done. There must be flexibility. And that is what technology has introduced. You cannot continue to do things manually the way things are done previously. Change is not abrupt, it's gradual. You need not to be a technology expert. Just know the basic things that will make life easy for you and your board as well. So company secretaries must embrace technology.
Okay, talking about making life easy, in what way can ICT promote work-life balance in an organization?
First of all, remote working.
Okay.
In other words, with technology, so long as you have internet connectivity wherever you are, you can work from there and still deliver the same way you would have delivered if you are physically in the office. Then secondly, it helps and reduces that level of stress that people normally face being physically in the office. So sometimes a physical presence of a physical office could be sometimes intimidating. So when people are within the confines of their home, they are relaxed. And within that, they can put in more. The slight downside of that is those who now work from home work much longer than they would have done if they were in the office.
Okay.
Consciously or unconsciously, that happens. Reason being that you get up early in the morning, you're going straight to your laptop, you start working, and before you know what's happening, it's 6 o'clock, 7 p.m. in the evening. Just realize, fine, I've not even had my bath. Oh, I just nibbled on some food and I'm moving on. So,
and they've been working.
Yeah, they'll be working. But then sometimes, for some organizations, they've even delivered more. But I'm not saying or advocating that people's physical working at home should be stopped. No, it should be balanced.
It should be balanced.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what advice do you have for companies or organizations concerning making investments in ICT?
For those who can afford it, invest in ICT. Over time, it need not be at once. is subject to your budget. So it should form an aspect of your annual budget to plan towards it. Because as you're operating in a particular technology, tomorrow a new one comes in, making the old one you have obsolete. So you need to invest on it. Invest and reinvest and make it a substantial part of your annual budget every year.
Thank you very much, Sir Leo Okafor. This is where we wrap it up on today's edition of Corporate Governance Platform. It's been interesting listening to you and sharing your knowledge and thoughts on IT governance in the context of corporate governance. We'd also like to thank our viewers for watching, and for those that sent text messages, we say thank you very much. We will wrap it up from here and invite you to join us again next week. Same station, same time. I remain Tunde Odeyemi. Keep sharing the gospel of corporate governance. Bye for now.
Do you have continuity or a succession plan for your business?
Has anyone shared the concept of sustainability with you?
What about the need to protect the rights of minority shareholders?
What are those ingredients germane to having effective meetings?
For these and many more, tune into Corporate Governance Platform every Thursday on MITV, your darling station, on DSTV 255 and UHF 43 at 4:30 p.m.
Corporate Governance Platform is your best medium for informative and educative strategies for the practice of the corporate governance profession.
Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals.